another CEO and the Lobster. Today we're going to try something a little bit different. Me and Janine are just going to actually jump on and have a conversation about Bitcoin versus Ethereum. Obviously, they're assets everyone's heard about, and most people have an opinion one way or the other. So we just thought we might discuss the pros and cons of both. Janine, did you want to maybe start taking us away? Broader view, what are these assets?
Sure thing. So Bitcoin is the first ever cryptocurrency created. It's kind of like the godfather or godmother of crypto assets. Started in around 2008 by Satoshi Nakamoto, the mysterious person or group of people who, really came up with how blockchain works and how money can be or value can be turned digital. So it's a pretty cool story behind that, and it's something that's just, it's got the mana, it's got the reputation, it's the tried and true and the original. But of course, the originals aren't always the best. Humans, we love to innovate, make things better. And so Ethereum was a fast follower after Bitcoin. And it took this concept of digital money, digital value, and then added on this ability to program it, to put in place things like smart contracts, which you might have heard of. There's a lot more innovation and creativity going on the Ethereum network. So there's a lot more cryptocurrencies that have come afterwards, but these are two of the biggest by market cap, the most well known. And they're also the two that seem to, draw a lot of what we call maxis. So you've got your Bitcoin maxis who are pro Bitcoin and nothing else. And we have a few of those in our team. And you've got your Ethereum maxis who believe Ethereum is the be all and end all. And yes, Patrick is one of those. So today we thought we'd kick around, those different cryptos, and maybe, should we take a side each? One of us go Bitcoin, one go Ethereum, or should we just, have a bit of back and forth? I mean, I know it's going to be easy for you to be the Ethereum guy, but could we put the Bitcoin hat on you instead?
I thought that might be an interesting thought experiment. I think within this space, people get too much caught up in their echo chambers and this is right, and they block out everything else. And as a way of doing that, I intentionally try to hear contrary and counter opinions, right? First of all, it's my job, right? But so I was thinking, today I'm actually going to take a pro Bitcoin stance. Ethereum is trash. We're going to trash on it. I'm sorry, Ethereum. I'm sorry, my beloved Ethereum. No. So I think that what I actually wanted to start off with is part of my research for this is proof of stake versus proof of work. I think that is.
Ooh.
Let's start with some big punches and stuff like that. And I'm just interested to hear which one do you think is better? Is one better, and why?
Well, okay, so just to give the brief overview on this, these are the mechanisms by which the blockchain works. So proof of work was what Bitcoin was founded on, and all of the original blockchains were on proof of work. This was where, you have these really complicated mathematical equations, a lot of energy usage. There were headlines about Bitcoin using more power than XYZ country. But over time, again, humans are the, parents of innovation, and we love to create new things, change things. And so over time, different mechanisms for constructing blockchains have come out. And one of those is proof of stake, which Ethereum moved to end of last year. And talking about that, which was called the merge, I mean, that is a massively pro Ethereum point, right? We had this network that's processing, I don't know, Patrick, what is it, millions, billions of dollars worth of value every day. And while it was operating, they managed to completely, it's not like building a plane while you're flying. It's like switching from a helicopter into a Concorde while you're flying, and doing that without any, loss of transactions, without any, vulnerabilities in the network. It was amazingly incredible what was pulled off with the merge. So props to Ethereum there. But going back to those, what is better, proof of work, proof of stake? There's a lot of discussion that proof of stake has more vulnerabilities and has, more open to attack. We haven't seen it yet. Proof of work, similarly, you can get a lot of concentration of power, and it's out of reach of most people to be Bitcoin miners, whereas pretty much everyone in the world can participate in Ethereum staking. So I would say that Patrick Schaefer's here, from a democratized point of view.
I'm going to hold you to a point. You need to
take
pick a side. The whole point about this. I'm going to come in with a contrary opinion.
Okay, proof of stake is best because everyone can participate. How's that?
Okay. I'm going to counter that point. I actually think proof of work is more true to Bitcoin principles. I know that sounds like a controversial statement given you've got these large miners, but think about it like this, right? Those two people who got an ICO of Ethereum, right? When they bought Ethereum I think Vitalik's average cost of Ethereum purchase is in the cents, right? How many Ethereum tokens does he hold? Now, thinking as a rational actor, right? okay, I'm going to stake those tokens, and the amount of power you get is related to the amount that you stake. Thus, you've got this collective of all these people who jumped in 2015 that hold the vast majority of the control over this network now and into perpetuity. There is no reasonable way to actually gain a proportional voting share. Whereas with Bitcoin and the proof of work, you need to continually keep adding resources to the network. You can't just kind of sit on your laurels, right? Anyone can spit up a VM that's going to cost them $30 a month, right? And it doesn't matter how much Ethereum they have staked there, they're always going to maintain their monopoly, right? You've essentially entrenched this group of early movers into having a disproportionate amount of control over the Ethereum network versus the people who use it every day, right? And there's very limited ways of resetting that balance. Proof of stake, in a lot of ways, has just locked in the status quo now and for always without those people needing to work for it. So proof of work isn't perfect, but it means you have to continually keep working, I guess.
So I think you've just landed into what I will say is a point in Ethereum's favor, which is, so sure, we might have this concentration with the early majority, but that could be changed, right? Like the network's already changed from proof of work to proof of stake. You could look at ways to cap concentration of power, to spread it out more democratically, to diversify that more. And with Ethereum, that's absolutely possible because Ethereum innovates, it changes, it's constantly looking for ways to make the network better. I mean, we saw the launch of account abstraction, which I think we talked about on our first episode, which is a massive win in Ethereum's favor of making the system and the network more user-friendly. I think this is one of the key takeouts to me from ETH Denver was, obviously I'm at an Ethereum conference, it's going to be very pro-ETH, but just the amount of innovation, the amount of passion and drive and ways that people are working to make it better, more secure, more user-friendly. It's so dynamic, it's so alive. Like the Ethereum network is just, it made me want to go all in on ETH, and I am not a maxi. Whereas Bitcoin, on the other hand, is Bitcoin's, it sounds ironic, but you'd say it's really quite traditional and conservative in terms of crypto assets. It doesn't change fast. And in fact, there are, a lot of the original Bitcoin users and holders that don't want it to change at all. They're very against things like the ordinals, which came out recently, which sort of accidentally somehow put NFTs on the Bitcoin network. And that was a bit of a, treason for many Bitcoin maxis that their network could be used for something as frivolous as NFTs when it should be in its pure, unadulterated form. So I would say, let's leave the, proof of stake versus proof of work, maybe call that one a tie. But in terms of innovation on the network, I'd say it's 1 point Ethereum, 0 Bitcoin. What do you reckon?
See, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think a lot of people take how revolutionary Bitcoin was for granted, right? It's always going to be easier to build upon something that already exists. The way we talk about blocks and hashing and transaction IDs, all of that stuff was built by Ethereum. And then not Ethereum, wow. Talk about a reflex. Bitcoin was fundamentally built by Bitcoin. They're the standards which all wallets, all Bitcoin or all cryptocurrencies operate by now. And I still think that Bitcoin is setting the pace in a lot of ways. So people might have heard the term BIP, Bitcoin Improvement Protocol. Bitcoin is the reason why you can have multiple coins in your wallet. BIP's 39, for example, set out the 12-word mnemonics because Bitcoin essentially sets the stage. It sets the conversation by being this stable, known entity that everyone else can build upon. It's the trusted baseline. We can have these words that work for multiple different wallets. We can have these different ways of doing transactions because it's all built from this fundamentally safe space. That's why Bitcoin's slow moving, is you don't want your foundational layer of this whole ecosystem to be unstable. You want it to be consistent, right? Let everyone else explore, play, try new things, because at the end of the day, Bitcoin's still there, you're in safe hands. It's not going to change overnight. It creates a lot of legitimacy, it creates a lot of trust in the space, and it creates certainty, which I think is not necessarily a bad thing in an emerging industry. So innovation's good. Innovation doesn't always work, and it's nice to have that stability there at the fallback on.
Apart from that little slip at the beginning where you accidentally did your pro ETH, that was a pretty good spiel. And I'm actually wondering, Patrick, debate techniques aside, are you actually more pro Bitcoin than you were when you started the research for this chat today, or are you still ETH maxi?
I'm still an ETH maxi. But I think Bitcoin has its place, right? It's my kind of takeaway from this is Bitcoin's the gold, right? It's the resource, it's the backing thing, and then Ethereum's going to be the currency we use every day in the future. There, I still think Ethereum has reached a critical mass of developers where it's going to keep progressing, it's going to keep growing, and I actually genuinely think that there's no prizes for second place. Ethereum, in terms of like where it's heading, is just the first place in terms of growth, in terms of taking over, in terms of how it's getting market share. But I still think there actually is a place for Bitcoin in that thing. And I think these two base layers are going to become more and more homogenous and work more and more together. So I think that definitely is something that's shifted my opinion. So I'm glad we did this exercise. What about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a maxi either way. I'm an equal opportunities cryptonaut. But I mean, I do think, what you touched on there is probably where I'm sitting, that they have their different benefits in their different places. Bitcoin, there is something really powerful about the purity, the lack of innovation on Bitcoin. It is so stable, so solid. And if you look at it as that digital gold, as its store of value, as that reputation, sort of, it's got that, Bitcoin's the coin that most people have heard of, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. And so I think that will hold value. Ethereum, on the other hand, like, that is where all the action is happening, the activity, not necessarily Ethereum itself, but all of the layer twos and interesting things being built on top of that. Like, Coinbase came out with Base on as a layer two on top of Ethereum, which is a huge bolster, I guess, for the uptake of Ethereum, because there's a lot of development activity that's going to be going in there. So I think we will see both continue for a long time to come. They have their different use cases. I don't know if we'll see as much, like, you're talking about, those things sort of just being merged together and, being, what do you say, homogenized. I'm not sure if we'll see that, because they are quite distinctly different. But I think we will be seeing both of them for a long time to come. And I think they're both really good coins that have different use cases, different value propositions, different target markets, different maxis, but also, really solid values behind both of them.
Yeah, I think that's probably a really good place to kind of wrap this up. I think, yeah, both definitely have their strengths, both definitely have their weaknesses. I think we just need to be mindful of both, right? Don't put on blinders, actually have like a reasonable, well-informed view. We always say that. Do your own research. But yeah, I think in conclusion, let's hear what the community's thoughts on this. Like, jump into the comments, jump into our Facebook groups, reach out. Let's talk about this stuff, because I think talking about all this stuff is only going to make all of it better. So I think, yeah, pretty good place to wrap up there. Thank you again for listening in. Thank you again, Janine, for jumping in and listening to me rant about ETH as well. Yeah, thanks all.
Thanks for taking the Bitcoin for you, Patrick. It's very good to get you outside of your comfort zone. And yeah, like you said, love to hear what people think. ETH, Bitcoin, both, neither. Give us your views, and yeah, let's have a chat.
Awesome. All right, see you all. Bye.